On the Talkback Show, on the radio, or whatever audiovisual device you choose to use. Welcome to the GBC podcast, where we talk about the Packers in our hometown of Green Bay. We are the official podcast of the Lot 1 tailgate party, which is at Lambeau Field every home game. This is episode 132, created January 5th, 2026. I'm John. I'm in Appleton, Wisconsin. Along with me, Jeff in Minnesota and Neil on the East Coast. Say hello, gentlemen, and tell us what you're drinking.
I'm having a beer that is my thoughts on what's going to happen over the next few weeks. I'm having a Tired Hands Brewing Company Eviscerated Pathway of Beauty double IPA.
Good evening, gentlemen. Tonight, in honor of having Charles on as our guest, I'm having from Kansas City Boulevard Brewing Company's Whiskey Barrel-Aged Imperial Stout.
And it is our playoff episode, so to celebrate being in the postseason, the Woodford Reserve Double Oaked. You can find us on YouTube and Twitter at Green Bay Chat and Facebook at the GBC Podcast, Green Bay Chat. And just the audio is available on Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify by searching for Green Bay Chat. As mentioned, this is our playoff picture episode. It's celebrating the postseason. We're going to talk the AFC playoffs, the NFC playoffs, and we have a guest. In each of the last three seasons, we've done a Super Bowl preview where our friend Charles has joined us to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. We were immensely sad, as was Charles, I'm sure, when Kansas City was eliminated from the playoffs, but we still wanted to visit with Charles, so we brought him in for the playoff preview. He is our AFC expert tonight. Charles, welcome back to the show. What are you drinking?
Yeah, thanks for having me back, guys. A blast so far, as always. I think Jeff and I did this last year too, but I'm also having a Boulevard Brewing Company Base Camper Juice Nova. It's a super stellar IPA. This might be the same one I had last year before the Super Bowl, but this year drinking it because it's 9% alcohol by volume beer, and around these parts these days, we need something a little stiffer to kind of take the edge off things. So.
And Charles, that leads me to my first question. What happened?
That's a good question. That's a good question. The one that I wanted to answer the least when you sent me the questions, honestly. You kind of have to go back in time to look at how the Chiefs really attacked things leading into the 2024 season. Like, you win two straight Super Bowls. From a roster standpoint, from a coaching standpoint, you really kind of go all in on that three-peat when you have that opportunity to do it, right? And that's exactly what the Chiefs did. The contract structures, the players they brought in and chose to bring back, those guys were all geared towards like, hey, we've got lightning in a bottle right now. Let's try to make some history, and let's try to be the first team in the modern NFL since the merger. Boys, not going to say ever, but since the merger,
the second and third of the Packers were also in the modern NFL.
Point taken.
Yeah. Where this is, tomato, Neil. But they were chasing history. They didn't get it. So you kind of find yourself with some heavier contracts on players who are aging in those scenarios, right? Don't really give yourself the ability to go out and retool on the fly and coming into a 2025 where you kind of got to hope that the draft class you bring in, there's a couple like instant real contributors in those draft class, right? You got to hope that some of these guys that have some miles on them can still keep, producing the way that they have. And credit to Travis Kelce, to Chris Jones, guys like that. They did have pretty respectable seasons. I think really when you look at it, guys, like the biggest stat that didn't go the Chiefs' way this year that was kind of the defining piece of last season was last year they were 11-0 in one-score games. This year they were 1-9. Sometimes the ball just doesn't bounce your way, and that was just the case with the 2025 Chiefs. From the beginning, there was some obviously starting the season without Rashee Rice for the first 6 games didn't help anything. But then the third play of that first game against the Chargers, you lose Xavier Worthy too. So then you're just kind of in a situation where the first 2 games of the year, you're playing with plumbers at wide receiver. Tyquan Thornton stepped up nicely, finally, against the Giants in week 3. There's some guys, like Juju Smith-Schuster had some big moments. Hollywood Brown had some big moments, but it was never quite enough. And then once you kind of got that receiving core back where Rice and Worthy and everybody was in there, then you have the Josh Simmons situation where personal matters, whatever they were, I Didn't want to speculate on any of that, but he's gone for a handful of games, and you have injuries to Jawan Taylor. Then all of a sudden, you're on your fifth and sixth offensive tackles, and Asa Pole and Chu Godric, with Patrick Mahomes running for his life, and the season's on an iron lung, basically. And you're 6-6. If you don't win, you're out. And Mahomes tweaks his knee, and that's it. So luck wasn't in their corner this year. You saw a few good performances from the offense, but it was really just a lot of offensive inconsistency this season. Drop passes, penalties. I think a lot of that's a top-down problem. I think the coaching staff in certain positions has kind of run its course, and it's time for some new ideas in the building.
It's an ancient tale of flying too close to the sun on wings made of Kansas City barbecue.
Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly. Yeah. We got our
So
ends burnt this year.
the big question is Travis Kelce retiring?
I hope not. I hope not. And it's just, I'm a very sentimental guy. If I opened up that closet behind me, I could show you t-shirts that I still have because of the people that bought them for me. I'm very sentimental. I can't be okay with a guy that's meant as much to the franchise as Travis Kelce has going out the way that he went out. Losing 14-11 to the Raiders on a last second field goal, 60-yard field goal, like losing our last 5 games in a row. The Chiefs haven't won a game since November 23rd. That's before Thanksgiving. The last win was against the Colts.
Before the elimination, was there a spot early in the season where the writing was on the wall where, yep, this isn't our year?
Yeah, I think the whole country watched Trevor Lawrence fall on his ass and then get back up and run in for a touchdown to go up 31-28 against, in Jacksonville. But that just like, man, we can't buy a break right now. And it just kind of stayed that way throughout the course of the season. So yeah, there's been little things like that throughout the course of the year. They're just like, golly. A lot of people would laugh at the notion that the officials weren't on the Chiefs' side this year, so they couldn't pull out those close games, which, I mean, I don't know. We didn't get a ton of calls. We still got some.
We kind of talked about this, when we met last time as well, is that people are getting tired of Kansas City, right? I mean, that's the way it is. You got tired of New England for a long time, and then you get tired of Kansas City. Is there a little bit of a relief factor there? I know you're in the Kansas City bubble, so it's different. The rest of the country is saying, hey, all right, time for some fresh meat coming out of the AFC.
From my perspective, I can't speak for the whole fan base or, the team, but from my perspective, I think there's some relief because it's just finally like, okay, you don't have an extra 3 or 4 games where it's just nonstop pressure pack football viewing. Like, it's the team.
You were
can
a
take
nervous
a break.
wreck last year, so you must be your blood pressure is feeling better, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I mean as we talked before the show, the 2.5-year-old and 1-year-old children don't really help that a lot. But it's nice to know that my next 3 to 4 weekends aren't going to be as tense as possible. So
a little more chill.
There's a little bit of relief in that.
It'll be good for the players too. I mean, you think about they've played an extra, I think it's like 22 extra games since 2019. It's insane. So getting some of these guys a chance to take a little bit of a break is going to be a good thing for the team.
The other big news is that the Chiefs announced that they're moving from the Missouri side of Kansas City to the Kansas side of Kansas City. Now we know that the Chiefs are on the Packers schedule for 2027. Green Bay traveling to Kansas City. Where will that game be played?
That will still be at Arrowhead Stadium. So the plan as of right now, which none of this is technically finalized yet, but the plan as of right now between the team and the state of Kansas is 2031 would be the first year in the new proposed stadium in Kansas City, Kansas. Their lease with the Truman Sports Complex, which is where Arrowhead is at now, is up. The last season of that is 2030. So they would play out the lease there, and then they would start 2031 in KCK.
All right, Neil, Jeff, we still have that 2027 road trip penciled in, right?
I think that one's in hard pen. I got a Sharpie out for
there's
that
no
game.
pencil there,
I don't care
John.
if that's Christmas Day. I think that we go to Kansas City for that one.
Have you guys been to Arrowhead before?
No.
Oh, yeah, you got to come. You got to come. Maybe we do a live show at the tailgate.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, when we went to Buffalo, it was just like, this is the place that felt most like Green Bay, and the only other place we thought was going to be comparable to that was Arrowhead. So we're absolutely excited about going to Kansas City.
That's a must. We will be there. Like Neil said, if it's the first game, it's the last game, we'll be there.
Yes, but it's going to be your last chance to do it, so you have to.
Yeah. So Charles, we asked you about Travis Kelce. How about Andy Reid? Do you think he might retire?
I don't think so. That's an interesting question, and I've thought a lot about that. I don't think Big Red's ready quite yet. I think he's at least got 1 or 2 more years left in him. If there's another disappointing season next year, I could see that being a very distinct reality, but I think he'll try to right the ship next year.
Is he actually going to leave? I'm not that there's any pressure on him now, but is he somebody who will just keep going sort of in a Don Shula type manner? Because that's the only thing that he really thinks about in his life.
That's a great question. I don't know. I think if at some point the Philadelphia scenario is probably a little bit different. That was a different time in life for him too, because he experienced a lot of, personal loss leading up to his departure in Philly. But now that he has kind of done everything there is to do as an NFL coach, I could see him being more willing to just walk away and be like, you know what? Like I've done my thing. It's time.
Charles, the main reason we brought you on really is to talk about the playoff picture. We needed someone who really knows the AFC. Neil wants to know about what our potential AFC opponents are going to look like. Now, we made some preseason predictions. I'll remind everyone that those two guys put Baltimore in the Super Bowl this year, so they are definitely going to have to reassess their picks for this season. I had Buffalo in the Super Bowl. The other ones, Jeff, your postseason teams that you did get right, Buffalo, Denver, and Houston. You missed on Baltimore, Cincinnati, Kansas City, and Indianapolis.
Jeff was feeling
Neil?
really proud about Indianapolis in the middle of this season too, like
I
just
was.
constantly gloating about Indianapolis.
Rightfully so.
Oh, yeah, and they just took a nosedive, right? Neil, you got Buffalo, Houston, Denver, and the Chargers. Oh, and Pittsburgh. I'm sorry. Yes, you did get Pittsburgh as well. So you missed out only on Baltimore and Kansas City. But like I said, you put Baltimore in the Super Bowl. Charles, what was your preseason prediction for the AFC?
I didn't have an entire playoff field slated because I just kind of presumed I knew who the AFC champion would be based off recent history. My bold prediction before the season was that the Chiefs' floor this year was 12-5. The floor fell out. Like we had water damage, everything. It was not good. I mean, before the season, I would have thought that it probably would have been one of 3 teams, would have been Kansas City, Buffalo, or Baltimore, just like everybody else. But hey, man, I mean, shit happens. It was a wild year. I kind of suspected the Chargers would be in the picture just because Jim Harbaugh's a great coach. Herbert, I thought, has been a criminally underrated quarterback. I think he's a very, very good player. And just they almost have like a nameless defense outside of Derwin James and Khalil Mack. Like you don't know a ton, there's not a ton of name brand guys on that defense, but God, they play hard and they're a salty unit. So I definitely wouldn't have sat here and said like, yeah, it's going to be the Jaguars, the Steelers, and the Texans for sure are going to be in there. I mean, Texans maybe by default, but
Did you
I wouldn't have
expect
thought.
Denver to be as good as they are?
I didn't expect Denver to be 14-3 or whatever they finished. I mean, I figured that they're with their defense and with Sean Payton, I thought they would probably be a playoff team. Figured they'd be a wild card team because I thought the Chiefs would win the division again, but did not expect the level of I don't know what you want to call it, man. This is where I'm gonna have trouble being objective because
Is
they got
Denver?
so fucking lucky this year in
I would
some
say, is
scenarios.
Denver a rival to Kansas City the way Chicago is to Green Bay? Is it that same level?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
would
this is
I
so this is killing you that we're telling you that Denver's the number one seed.
fucking hate it. Yeah, I like the level of disdain for the teams in the AFC West shifts. So up until last year, I would have said, the Raiders are my number one, like, hate those guys, right? But go back to like 2015 when Peyton Manning was on the Broncos, it was like, man, I hate the Broncos. Now the Broncos are competitive again, and they are filling that hatred void in my heart over and over and over. And God, I can't stand Sean Payton. I think their defense is dirty. Bo Nix is a fraud. It's yeah.
But
Tell us
tell
what
us
you
how
really
you
think.
really feel.
That's I could go on.
Please
How long
do.
you guys
This is
got?
enjoyable. They're the one seed, right? They're the team that
Yeah.
everyone in the AFC is chasing. So, what is it about Denver that really gives you pause when everyone says they're obviously going to the Super Bowl from the AFC?
The quarterback. If someone can tell me with a straight face that Bo Nix is going to stand in and throw punches with Josh Allen in a playoff game, and the Broncos are going to be able to beat a team like the Bills. The only thing the Broncos have going for them this year is that the Chiefs and the Ravens are not in the playoffs. They don't have a ton of playoff experience to go up against. They've got the Bills. The Chargers have been there, but they've just lost. Like all they've done is lose. Patriots are the 2 seed. The Patriots' opponent's record this year was under 400. It just feels like
One
an
of the easiest
extremely
schedules
soft.
historically.
I mean,
It seems like the easiest schedule since 1999 of any team.
that's one of the things that when we did our preseason preview, I noted the position that you finished in your division was going to have a big impact on what your final record was, because those fourth place teams are much worse than they have been historically. Like, we don't have a middle class in the NFL. You've got teams that are competing for the playoffs. Nobody's around 500. And then you have a bunch of teams that completely suck. And certainly
100%.
New England took advantage of that. But when we looked at the Kansas City and Detroit, were the two I remember most carefully going through, it's like Kansas City and Detroit are kind of screwed this year because their schedule is just so brutal compared to some of these other teams. And I don't know. I think that moving to the 17 game schedule has done one other thing. It's made one other game that is really differentiating those top and bottom teams. But even more so, the number of teams that essentially played a tank has made those games against third and fourth place teams much easier than they would be historically.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think you've got a watered down AFC this year where you can see a team like the Texans come out of the AFC easily. The way their defense is playing, the fact that they have been there before. CJ Stroud has been in the playoffs each of his first 3 seasons. The Texans could come out of the AFC. I don't see this with the injuries to DK Metcalf and Washington. I don't really see Pittsburgh being able to put up enough points against some of these teams to really compete. But I mean, I could see Aaron Rodgers going in and staring down a Bo Nix and potentially stealing a game in Denver. I don't think there's an unbeatable team in the AFC. I would probably take the Bills as the 6th seed to come out, just law of averages. But then again, I don't know. This is probably the worst Bills team of the Josh Allen era. I mean, as far as the entire roster. Now with Josh Allen and James Cook and those tight ends, I mean, the offensive line's pretty good. I mean, they could make a run, but man, I feel like the AFC is wide open. The NFC is a grindhouse this year. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
You've watched more AFC games than we have. Is Drake May for real?
He still hasn't thrown for 300 yards against anybody, I don't think. This is a Belichick disciple, Vrabel coach team. They play sound defense. They run the football. They don't make mistakes. They're very disciplined on the field. But, I mean, I'll be honest, guys. I think the Chargers go in there and knock them out in the first round. I think that you give me a Harbaugh team with that type of attitude, Herbert at quarterback, I think the Chargers probably go in there and pull the upset in the first round. Now, I could be completely wrong. The Patriots could win that game like 30-7, but I like the Chargers in that one. I don't think the Patriots are necessarily for real just yet. I think Drake May is a good player. I think if he wins the MVP, that's kind of a I'm trying to find a better term than
bullshit.
Shit, but yeah,
stretch. I think stretch. Bullshit seems a little harsh, but stretch.
Yeah, I mean, who do you give it to this year though? Stafford? I mean, he finished second in his division, but it's tough.
Second in division, but if there weren't rankings by division, right? They'd be a 2 seed in the NFC. So, I mean, sort of by division just sort of is kind of a lie, especially when you've got divisions like the NFC South, right?
Whatever, Neil. They're ranked below the Panthers, and the Panthers are 8 and 9.
That's right. That's right.
We know your opinion on Bo Nix, but in general, this AFC class of quarterbacks in the postseason is pretty good all the way around, right?
Yeah, talent-wise, they're okay. There's nobody that's really proven though. That's the thing, and I guess it's just like the standard definition of proven would be like having playoff experience. But
you're forgetting Aaron Charles Rodgers, my friend.
Aaron Charles Rodgers, but yeah, I mean the second best quarterback in the AFC playoffs, 42, and he's the second best quarterback in the AFC playoffs. That tells you what you need to know about the AFC quarterback.
Based on what he did last night, he's kind of hooked up to the juvenation machine.
He had some throws last night that I was just
amazing.
Like, holy shit. Like he looked pretty good last night. I couldn't believe Baltimore.
Well, he's back to that Aaron Rodgers chip on his shoulder kind of thing after escaping New York. I think going to the Steelers, and he appears to be enjoying himself. And personally, I was rooting for the Steelers last night, but just to see some of those you're just like, damn. So where do the Steelers end up here? Because they're well coached. We've talked about this in other episodes, and just in terms of like the experience of being there, and that in the playoffs, not having those jitters or knowing what to do with those jitters, with that adrenaline, things like that. I don't know what the number is, John, of playoff games that Rodgers has been in. a lot.
21 is the answer. 21 is the answer.
Okay.
Neil.
Then you've got Josh Allen, and Herbert hasn't done anything really in the playoffs other than throw interceptions. So it's wide open.
Jeff, my counterpoint is that nobody has playoff experience when they win their first playoff game. So there comes a point where quarterbacks just step up. And the question is, among those who are less experienced in total number of games, which ones are going to step up?
So I think the answer to that is going to be whose defense is going to support them the best. And if you look at that criteria, you'd have to think like CJ Stroud, perhaps Herbert, maybe even Drake May.
All right, it's time to get your story straight. We know what you picked the first time around. Let's take a look at the AFC predictions. Charles, we're going to let you start off on this one. How do you like the AFC shaking out?
As far as the AFC goes, kind of walking through it, in the opening round, I like the Texans. It's tough to pick against Rodgers, but the Texans defense is playing so well right now. I can't bet against Josh Allen, especially against Trevor Lawrence. I know the Jags have been playing so well, but I think the Bills are going to take that one. And then I like the Chargers over the Patriots. Second round, I guess that would give me like Chargers, Broncos, and Bills and Texans. Honestly, guys, I kind of like a Bills versus Chargers 6-7 AFC championship. And this is probably the exact same thing that tripped me up last year in my Super Bowl pick, but I'm just picking based off of history and not current performance. I do think the Bills advance out of the AFC and Josh Allen finally gets his crack at a Lombardi. That's probably more of me predicting with my heart than my brain, but I'd like to see Josh Allen get a chance at it now that Mahomes and Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow are not in the playoffs. Like, why not let him get a crack at it?
You know, we made friends with some Buffalo podcasters and Buffalo fans, and they interact with us online and peek in every once in a while. And the only way Buffalo gets another home game at Highmark Stadium is under your scenario there, Charles, by hosting the Chargers. So those Buffalo fans who check in on us every once in a while, you just made a whole bunch of friends with that one because they would like that AFC Championship game at Buffalo. I like that pick. Neil?
When I look at the AFC, I certainly think in terms of what are the strengths of each team. And obviously, Charles mentioned that Buffalo, Josh Allen, fourth in the NFL in DVOA, New England offense, third in DVOA. Those are clearly offenses that can do some damage. Houston, obviously a great defense, second by DVOA. Denver, though, fifth. And the biggest thing about Denver, though, is they've got Patrick Surtain, somebody who can control a wide receiver. And they had 68 sacks on this season, a number that was much larger than any other team. You combine that with Denver's home field advantage and the fact that playing Mile High is something that teams can't adapt to unless they go to Denver several days in advance, gives them a specific advantage as the number one seed. And that, I think, is a driving force. Josh Allen, obviously being the only playoff experienced quarterback, matters, but other quarterbacks are going to have those opportunities. And in the wild card round, I've got Pittsburgh over Houston because did you watch Pittsburgh, Baltimore? I mean, Pittsburgh is for real. You can see that their defense and offense have both reached a different level over the last few weeks, for example, compared to when the Packers played in Pittsburgh. Buffalo over Jacksonville. I think this is just Josh Allen has to make that leap, at least in this round right now, if not now, never. And then New England over the Clippers because offensive lines matter, and the Los Angeles Chargers have one of the worst lines in the entire NFL. That's the sort of thing that gets exposed in the playoffs. Divisional round. I've got Denver over Buffalo because of that home field advantage and because Patrick Surtain is going to be capable of controlling a relatively modest receiver core that Buffalo has. And if they can't get open, Josh Allen can't do that much with them. And then I've got Pittsburgh over New England because I think New England is going to finally have to face a team that is actually good, and they're going to fold against a team that is highly motivated. That puts me Denver against Pittsburgh in the NFC Championship game. I just think Denver's defense is good enough to push it. I think Bo Nix is good enough, and I think the home field advantage is sufficient to lead Denver to the Super Bowl.
All right, Charles, how does that make you feel, Denver in the Super Bowl?
I hope you're wrong, Neil. I mean, I hope you're wrong. I couldn't hope that you're wrong more. But it would be fitting if we do end up with Denver beating Pittsburgh in the playoffs, harkening back to a quarterback that doesn't belong on an NFL field beating Pittsburgh in a playoff game. That would be a great way for Bo Nix to put his name right up there with Tim Tebow in Broncos lore.
Ouch.
All right, Jeff. That brings you
He's not that bad, but God. These grapes are sour, fellas.
He is
How do
not
I
bitter at
follow
all,
that?
friends. He is not bitter at all. Yes.
Damn, Charles. So Neil and I did not confer before this. So my picks are fairly similar to Neil's. AFC wildcard round, I do have the Steelers over the Texans. Now, one interesting anecdote here is that the Steelers on Monday night have not lost a game since 1991. So they're 23 straight wins on Monday night. They're playing next Monday night. And you're right, Neil, with Rodgers, with what he did against the Ravens, Texans have a good defense. Steelers at home on Monday night. I'm picking the Steelers. I also have the Bills over Jags. I think Josh Allen, he's going to put the team on his back and he's going to get carried off the field if they lose. He's going to put everything into it. And I do have the Patriots over the Chargers. Now, the Chargers offensive line notwithstanding, the entire Chargers team does have to fly cross country and play outside of Boston. So, you know what? Fatigue from that aspect. I think the Patriots, unfortunately, Herbert is just not going to be able to advance. So in the divisional, here's where we differ a little bit. I do have the Bills over the Broncos because I think Josh Allen is going to be like, fuck this. I'm going to take this team. I'm not going to let Bo Nix, I'm not going to let Mr. Bounty affect our team. We're going to go or try and get to the promised land. I've got the Steelers over the Patriots also because Rodgers against Drake May. I would like to, off the record, hear what Aaron Rodgers has to say about Drake May. I mean, I'm sure he's like, oh yeah, he's a fine fellow or whatever. But I'm sure Rodgers is like, you're going to have to knock me off this pedestal. And he's not going to accept losing to New England and Drake May. So then in AFC Championship, I have the Bills over the Steelers. So I'm backing it up. I'm like, all right, I'm going to hitch my wagons to Josh Allen and the Bills and just see if they can make it to the Super Bowl.
I'm good. I'm good with that.
Taking a look at the
Good
AFC.
pick, Jeff.
So
Thanks.
I have Buffalo as well, beating Jacksonville. Right, I think that this Buffalo Bills team is strong. Josh Allen is ready to go. They've really faltered during the season, though. Right, I mean they had kind of a Jekyll and Hyde season, and it was kind of disappointing that they didn't show up at certain points. They only get the 6th seed coming in, but they still finish, I think, strong, and they're ready for the postseason. So I'll take Buffalo there. Again, I think the Chargers traveling to New England, that's a tough road trip, right? Los Angeles to Boston, even though it's a game later in the day, I still think New England gets the advantage off of that, although I do like Justin Herbert as a quarterback. Again, a team that he's injured, there's probably a lot going wrong there. So I'll take New England to advance there. Houston, Pittsburgh. Yes, I did watch the Pittsburgh game along with you guys. We were chatting the whole game, so I remember it very well. But you also have to remember, Pittsburgh got lucky in this game as well. This is a game that could have gone either way. I think a strong defense like the Houston Texans have can solidify a victory. The Texans actually play pretty well in the postseason. I like them to win in the first round. So that means that Houston will then have to go to New England and play. And just again, from the perspective of a strong defense, Charles, you mentioned New England having such an easy schedule. I think that New England is finally going to get a dose of reality and they will lose to the Houston Texans. Between Buffalo and Denver, the Bills traveling over to Denver. Climate-wise, temperature-wise, Buffalo is a cold weather team. They'll be fine. Neil, the question always, as you say, is do you get there a day early to acclimate yourself? Either way, I think Buffalo comes away on that one. Charles, you can clap for that. So between Buffalo and Houston, Buffalo at Houston in the AFC Championship game, I am advancing the Buffalo Bills as well. So that's as a group, 3 Buffalo Bills, 1 Denver Broncos. So kind of a consensus there on how the AFC is going to go.
I mean, consensus if 3 of you want to be wrong, but whatever.
Really?
You know what? I was talking with my brother about this last week. They were in town my brother is a Chiefs fan living in Colorado, so he's living my personal hell right now. And I asked him, I was like, who do you want to see in the Super Bowl without the Chiefs there? He's like, dude, I want to see the Jags. I want to see the Jags go to the Super Bowl and win it. His only reason was that he wants to see Liam Cohen on the stage with Jim Nantz or whoever's calling the game, giving him the Lombardi Trophy, and hear him do his dumbass little Duval in front of the whole country. So I could get behind that.
That's a great point because neither Jacksonville nor Houston have advanced to the Super Bowl. A Jaguars Texans AFC championship game would be phenomenal. I mean, who would you root for in a situation like that?
Wouldn't that be something? With the AFC South being the laughing stock of the AFC for so many years, you have an all AFC South AFC championship game.
It's a
That'd
good
be,
pipe dream, right? It's not going to happen,
yeah,
but
Well,
it,
it's
it's nice to root for teams though that haven't been there if your team is out of it, right?
yeah. I mean,
As long as they're
absolutely.
not teams that are despicable. I mean, let's be honest here. Jacksonville is completely bland, and they are on a 10-game winning streak. So, and I like Trevor Lawrence; he's perfectly fine. CJ Stroud's perfectly lovely human being. I don't have anything against him. So, yeah, sure. I lived in Houston for 4 years.
Say,
I
Neil,
can
you've
sort of
got
get
a
on
little
board
bit
with
of
that. So,
connection to Houston, right?
yep.
yeah.
I mean, your
But
connection to Houston is probably stronger than my connection to Denver.
I mean, the thing about the AFC, if you're a Packers fan, though, is if the Packers are going to go to the Super Bowl, you want the weakest team from the AFC to go. And if the Packers don't go to the Super Bowl, you want the strongest team, whoever's going to beat the NFC team. So whatever is going to work for beating the non-Packers or whoever is going to be the most straightforward victim for the Packers, that's who I want from the AFC.
For you guys, who from the AFC would you most want to see if the Packers are in the Super Bowl? Like
Pittsburgh, probably.
Yeah, Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh?
I've got a separate thought, but we'll get to that one later. But yeah, I think Rodgers against the Packers would be just phenomenal. And
Oh yeah,
also,
dude.
and also, we're
What
better.
a dumb question I
We've,
asked. Yeah.
we've already beaten the Steelers this year, and we think we could do it again.
All right, Charles. Let's go over to the NFC. Since we let you go first in the AFC, we'll let you take a stab at the National Football Conference. Who do you like in the NFC playoffs?
I have no idea, honestly. I don't watch enough of the NFC. I know the NFC West is obviously loaded, looking at those three teams from the NFC West, but it's easy to pick the Rams over the Panthers in the first round. I think that's a given. Kind of rare that you see a 10-point favorite in the first round of a playoff game. I know the Niners are at Philly, but man, Philly 4.5 against a Niners team that has been very game. Now, I know Purdy got banged up pretty good against the Seahawks in that Week 18 game. I don't know. I guess give me the Eagles so I don't just go all NFC West here. Bears, Packers, boys, do you think that I'm going to pick a quarterback that paints his nails against the Green Bay Packers in the playoffs? No.
It's the right
Give me the
answer,
Packers.
Charles. Well done.
I wish, what week was this? Was it week 15 that Parsons and Mahomes both tore their ACLs the same week?
Yeah. Yeah.
What a shitty week that was. If
Yep.
Micah Parsons was healthy, I would, without pause, pick the Packers to kind of walk through the NFC playoffs. But I don't know. The Seahawks are an amazingly talented team. They have dogs everywhere on the field. But the Sam Darnold thing, I cannot get past that. I just, it seems like maybe their defense is good enough to get past that, but you would have thought the same with Minnesota last year. Their defense was equally as impressive. They say that you tend to act the most like the people that you're around. Give me the Packers against the Seahawks in the divisional round. And then Eagles, Rams, coin flip. For me, I think Matt Stafford's played as good as anybody at the quarterback position this year. The Rams defense is young, aggressive, very good. They've got weapons on offense. I like the Rams and the Packers in the NFC Championship game. And I'm sorry, guys. I do think the Rams will probably advance to the Super Bowl.
You don't have to
from the NFC.
apologize. We're not forcing you to pick the Packers here, Charles.
Yeah, and it hurts. It hurts
It
me
will
to
determine whether we bring you back next year on the show, but you don't have to pick the Packers here.
fair. I can accept that. It hurts me to pick the Rams because as I grew up in Missouri. And I was the only Chiefs fan of my friends in college. They were all from the St. Louis area. So they're like, oh, dude, Chiefs suck. Rams are the best. They've won a Super Bowl in our lifetime. Yeah, well, they left you boys.
It has changed, yeah.
Yeah.
But you do right. You're right. You have a good proximity connection there to the Rams in some sense. So that's a fair pick. It played pretty good football this year. So you're taking the Rams out of the NFC. We'll come back in a little bit to get your Rams versus Bills prediction. We'll keep things in the order we had. Neil, what's your NFC look like?
Seattle is obviously a force to be reckoned with by DVOA, number one in the NFL this year, but also the seventh best overall DVOA since 1978. Their defense is historically good, 12th best defense historically since 1978. And they are especially good against the run. But They do have 28 giveaways on the year. Sam Darnold has 14 interceptions and 6 fumbles. And so there are weaknesses within that Seattle team. The Rams, also extremely balanced. Second overall in DVOA, ninth best overall since 1978. So you have 2 historically good teams by DVOA. Their offense, first in the NFL this year. Their defense, fourth. They've been weak on special teams. They're actually 26th, the lowest ranked team by DVOA in special teams that is in the playoffs. Those are the key components. But those Seahawks and Rams teams by DVOA are just above the 1996 Packers. So there's something certainly to be said for the qualities of those teams. On the other hand, we haven't seen the best that the Packers can give this year. And we haven't had Watson, Reed, and Dobbs, Musgrave. Zach Tom is coming back. Zach Tom was injured, for example, against Denver. We have Jordan Love, who was injured for a number of those late games in the season. Our first game against the Bears was the 4th game of a 4-game winning streak that we had before that fall. But we were a team that was very strong going into that game in Denver, and then things sort of fell apart with Micah Parsons. There was certainly a component of the Micah Parsons injury that had a hangover effect that was not just physical, but there was also mental. And I think as much as anything, we've seen our line in the game against Minnesota do things. The addition of Trayvon Diggs, I think, is important. I think Trayvon Diggs is an addition that is sneaky, sort of like the addition of Andre Rison to the 1996 Packers, and that we took a weakness, someplace where we were devastated by injuries on the season, where we did not have the best players, and a player who's actually capable of making a difference. What did Andre Rison do in the Super Bowl 31? Caught a 54-yard touchdown reception from Brett Favre. You need players that are capable of making a difference. And so I see those Packers coming together because we haven't seen all of those things there. Yes, Micah Parsons isn't there. I'd consider us a top 3 team with Micah Parsons there. But in a wide open NFC, I think there's a lot to be said. So in the divisional round, Green Bay over Chicago. It is Caleb Williams' first time in the playoffs. First time in the playoffs can go very poorly for quarterbacks that are inherently not particularly accurate. I've got Philadelphia over San Francisco. I think that's the toughest game. I just think San Francisco has had too many injuries, and Philadelphia can do just enough. They're going to have some Super Bowl muscle memory that will take them past San Francisco. Rams over Carolina. That's the easiest game. In the divisional round, Green Bay over Seattle. Yes, Seattle is really good on defense, but they're best against the run. We've got a really good passing game. We've got a passing game that is diversified, that can a lot of different wide receivers. I think we've got the ability to take over and beat Seattle, and especially rattle Sam Darnold because, well, that's what Sam Darnold does. And I've got the Rams over Philadelphia because, again, I think that the Rams are just a better team on offense and defense in Philadelphia. Philadelphia's got problems as far as their offense is concerned in particular. The Rams can do more than enough. That leads to a Rams-Packers NFC Championship game, just like Charles. My head wants to say it's the Rams, but my heart knows that it's going to be the Green Bay Packers over the Rams in the NFC Championship game.
Charles, I forgot to mention that we did a preseason prediction episode that totally got scrapped because the very next day the Packers traded for Micah Parsons. And so we decided to redo everything. So yes, in our preseason, all 3 of us put the Green Bay Packers into the Super Bowl, our revised preseason prediction. So we all did have Green Bay in there at that time.
I had the Packers winning the Super Bowl even in the pre-Micah Parsons episode.
Even without Parsons, yep.
The Packers Chiefs was my preseason Super Bowl prediction.
And that's why you're with us, Charles.
I even told people in the Arrowhead Addict group chat, I said, keep the receipts. It's Packers and Chiefs this Super Bowl.
And I love Neil for being such a homer. He makes me look less homerish the way that he really puts things out there. So it's good. Neil makes me look tame when I get to talk to my dad about our predictions and things like that come about, because he watches the show and he's like, oh, you guys are really All right, Jeff, that means it is your turn. Tell us your NFC homer predictions.
Well, deja vu. I guess great minds think alike, Neil. I have all the same picks as Neil, actually. I've got Packers over Bears, wild card, Eagles over 49ers. I've got Rams over Panthers. I've got the Packers over the Seahawks. You know, I so want to get that 2014 championship game just to exercise those demons. Because we've already had that with the Bears earlier this year, that onside kickoff. Go into Seattle, exercise those demons, beat the Seahawks. And I've got the Rams over the Eagles, and I just want to see the Eagles lose. I mean, and lose ugly. I mean, like 48-10 or something.
Yeah, I like seeing Nick Sirianni cry.
Exactly.
Jeff, you know that the Eagles are my most hated team in the NFL, right? So
well, yeah,
this
I know
makes
that,
me
but
very happy.
I'm kind of sick of them. And Nick Sirianni, if they lose ugly, this guy might be sent packing. With the way the Eagles have squeaked past with the sub 200 passing yards and just like kind of mailing it in, but somehow managing to win, Rams come in to Philadelphia and say, all right, this is what a real offensive team looks like, and just put it to them. So then get the Packers and the Rams. Now, this will obviously be in SoFi. And you know what? I think the Packers do really, really well at SoFi in that indoor-ish stadium. And I've got the Packers coming out here. I mean, this obviously will all come crashing down if the Packers shit the bed in
They're
Chicago.
not. Just we're not having negative talk like that in this podcast, okay?
Excellent. So I've got the Packers over the Rams. Packers going to the Super Bowl.
The only thing that I would say about your predictions is that both of us previously had predicted the Packers losing to the Eagles in the regular season and then taking their revenge in the postseason. And both of us backed off on that. And maybe the Philadelphia Eagles can beat the Rams so the Packers can win at the link to get rid of all of that bad juju going back to 2004 and 4th and 26.
Well, Jeff, you commented how your picks were pretty similar. You guys are not going to believe this.
Deja vu all over again.
I also have the Los Angeles Rams handily taking care of the Carolina Panthers, the Philadelphia Eagles beating the San Francisco 49ers, and yes, the Green Bay Packers taking care of our vaunted rival, the Chicago Bears. So Rams, Eagles at Philadelphia. Again, that west to east travel, I think, is tough. Taking the Rams out of the dome, putting them in a cold weather environment in Philadelphia. I think the Eagles get to take advantage of that. I'm going to put the Philadelphia Eagles into the NFC Championship game. Seattle, the 1 seed, getting the bye. They'll be hosting the Green Bay Packers, and this is where we differ. I think that Green Bay, because of the depletion of the injuries, because of the inconsistencies this season, starting out great. We talked about needing to put a perfect game together against Chicago and getting rid of all those mistakes. I fear the mistakes will rear their ugly head in the divisional round. The Seattle Seahawks will advance. Now, Seattle, Philadelphia, I am taking Seattle at home over the Eagles only because if the Packers can't make it, I want to see Sam Darnold succeed so that the Vikings fans can be absolutely miserable watching Sam Darnold go to the Super Bowl. So I have the Seattle Seahawks against the Buffalo Bills in Super Bowl 60 in Santa Clara. That means it's time for the big prediction. Charles, your Super Bowl 60 winner, you have Buffalo Bills, Los Angeles Rams. Who are you taking?
The Bills. Josh Allen needs to go get his Super Bowl MVP in his Lombardi because when the Mahomes and the Chiefs are back next year, he's not going to have the opportunity to do it.
All right, Neil, you have the Green Bay Packers and the Denver Broncos. If you take the Broncos, Charles is going to reach through the screen and make you fix your prediction. So who do you have winning Super Bowl 60?
I don't need that threat because at the coin toss, Jordan Love is going to say, hello, my name is Jordan Love. You killed my edge rusher. Prepare to die. And we annihilate the Denver Broncos and avenge Super Bowl 32.
Oh, what a reference.
Excellent. Jeff, that leaves it over to you. Green Bay Packers, Buffalo Bills. I feel this was close to your preseason prediction at Green Bay, Baltimore. You now have Green Bay and Buffalo. Who are you taking?
Unfortunately, we loved going to Buffalo. We loved tailgating. We loved that whole experience. The Bills just can't win a Super Bowl here. Packers defense is going to step up. Coaching and Josh Allen is not going to get his prize. Jordan Love, 27-year-old Jordan Love, is going to get his first Super Bowl victory.
Yeah, the rule of 27 obviously coming into play because Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers both winning Super Bowls at age 27.
And how many games did we win with 27 points? Yes, thank you for bringing that up, Neil. I know how much you enjoy the 27 club when we talk about it. As mentioned, I have the Seattle Seahawks advancing to the Super Bowl to face the Buffalo Bills. And as exciting as it is to have Sam Darnold there to stick it to the Vikings fans, I'm sticking with my preseason prediction where I took the Buffalo Bills in Super Bowl 60. I am taking the Buffalo Bills to get their first Super Bowl. So, Charles, you and I have the Bills. Neil and Jeff have the Packers. We have a lot to look forward in this postseason.
God, I fucking love football.
It's the best. Man, this is a sad playoff. This is a sad playoffs, though. I feel a little empty, but I can vicariously root for your guys' Packers this year with a
Love
clean
it.
conscience. I have nothing to lose.
That's
Easy to root for the teams for the other conference as well, to be fair.
I was thinking about this as you guys were talking through the potential matchups for the Packers throughout the course of the playoffs. Obviously, the Parsons injury is huge because if you lose you lose a top two edge rusher in the NFL. It's him and Myles Garrett, right? Is there a world where you guys think that maybe the Tucker Kraft injury is more detrimental to a playoff run than the Micah Parsons injury?
Not more, because we've got other receivers. I mean, Tucker Kraft did amazing things. He was on track for 1,000 yards, but there was just a transformational effect that Micah Parsons had.
That's probably like me coming from the Chiefs' perspective, where I've over and over again seen Travis Kelce come up with huge plays in playoff scenarios for years, right? But I think about so many situations like 3rd and 5, right? Down by 3 with 2.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Having that blanket tight end that you can just go to, that's your security blanket, is huge. So I was just kind of thinking about that as you guys were talking through it, and I didn't know what your perception of that was. So
we would love for Tucker Kraft to get the level of prime Travis Kelce. He's just not there yet.
Yeah,
still young.
We're all very hopeful that he will get to that level, no doubt.
At Tucker Kraft's age, Travis Kelce was yanking it behind a ref and getting flags thrown on him. So I mean, they can come a long way.
And Charles, we want to thank you for joining us. One last thought on your Kansas City Chiefs. You had mentioned something earlier, and we didn't really dive into it. You had said something about kind of a hope in coaching changes. What do you see for the immediate future for your Chiefs? What has to change going into next season?
It's tough because Chiefs fans, and I mean the NFL at large, like with the Chiefs offense, it's a chicken and the egg thing, right? Is it Andy Reid as the offensive coordinator? Probably Andy Reid, but Andy Reid's not going anywhere. So I think the writing's on the wall. Matt Nagy is going to take some head coaching interviews. I think he interviewed with the Titans today. Nagy won't be back. I think they need some fresh ideas at offensive coordinator, at least to kind of push some new thoughts and some new concepts into the offense. It's going to be Andy Reid's offense. It's going to have his fingerprints all over it. Have to have a changed offensive coordinator. It's a little more nuanced. The receivers coach, a guy named Connor Embry, progressively over the course of the last 4 seasons, he's gotten a better and better receiver room handed to him from, the draft, from free agent acquisitions, and the position just hasn't improved on the field. So, I mean, to me, that tells me that the coaching aspect of it's not there. There's a guy named Joel Blameyer who's the pass game coordinator, was the receivers coach. I think he should step back into that role, be more hands-on with the receivers. I think that there just needs to be a little more delegation on the offensive side of the ball, maybe a little more trust put into a play caller who can bring some more creative concepts to the offense. Defensively, I think they kind of stand pat, assuming that Spagnuolo doesn't get a head coaching offer and decides to take it. I think Spags is the guy for the job on defense. I think it's more personnel on the defensive side of the ball than it is coaching. But I think offensively there needs to be some changes. And I kind of think that maybe Dave Toub has run his course as the special teams coordinator. So I would say offense and special teams coordinators probably need to change in a couple positions on the offensive side of the ball. But I don't think they need to do a full on
You're not ready to fire everybody is what you're saying.
No, it's not a clean house and start over type situation. It's more of a reload and just kind of get some fresh ideas. I just think that some of the voices in the building have fallen on deaf ears because, things have gotten stale and it's just time for some change.
Well, Charles, we have appreciated you joining us. It's been great getting to know you the last few years. Please keep in touch with us during the postseason, and we'll look forward to finding a reason to getting you back on the show next year as well. Neil,
Absolutely.
Jeff, any final thoughts?
I am wearing my Tremont Williams jersey today because playoff runs are about players who make a leap. It's about having talent that decides and makes plays that change the nature of games. The Packers have a number of players who have that potential, and yet we don't have the players who actually made the Pro Bowl because they've shown that potential without doing it consistently. But you take somebody like an Evan Williams, an Edgerrin Cooper, Xavier McKinney, who was all pro last year, but maybe has taken a step back this year. Christian Watson only played half the year. Jaden Reed only played half the year. And then the elephant in the room, as far as players who can take a step up, is Jordan Love. He's certainly had a year in which he's had so many huge plays, especially on third down with his legs, but also with his arm. We've got players who are in that realm of potential, who should be in the realm of being superstars. The playoffs is where you make your name as becoming a superstar. I look forward to those players doing it in the playoffs, and that is what's going to drive the Packers run. Go Pack, go.
They should take that clip of Neil and play it before the NFC Championship game if they want to get fired up. I'm ready to run through a wall, Neil. I want to play for the Packers now.
All right. A couple more injuries and we might ask you.
I don't think you want me. I don't think you want an offensive lineman who hasn't played in almost 20 years. I don't think you need that.
Charles, again, thanks for being part of the program. Everyone else, if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit subscribe, leave a comment, find the GBC podcast at Green Bay Chat. That is all one word, Green Bay Chat. We are on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, Blue Sky, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. On Facebook, it's the GBC podcast Green Bay Chat. And please follow us on any and all of those social media platforms. And may you fully appreciate the magnitude of your impending good fortune. Thanks for joining us.
Good night.
Good night. Thanks, Charles.
Thanks, guys.